Anyway, so this is Adobe Premiere Pro. Like I was saying, there's Premiere Rush. Uh, I would recommend like checking out Premiere Rush at some point just because it's so user friendly, but I want to use Premiere Pro just because it's much more specific and you can do more with it. One of the main reasons that I want to have like you start editing just by making a music video is it's like one of the easiest ways to couple audio with visuals. And also video editing is like it's huge. It's really important nowadays, especially with more people making content and relying on like editing for it. uh, if you're a halfway decent editor, you could probably find jobs right out of school, even just like editing for someone's YouTube page or whatever, or YouTube channel. But again, I think editing can be a lot of fun just because you control your audio and visuals, and you control the experience of the person that's looking at it. Uh, for me, that's what I really enjoy about 4D things that are time based. That's what I really like about movies because it makes you feel more kind of emotion. Anyway, with Premiere, I'm going to make a new project. So I'm going to go to File, New Projects. Should be the same Mac and PC. And I'm just going to give this new project a title. I'll call this Digital Demo. And then I'm going to just kind of explain a few things on the screen here. Okay. So this down here is probably like one of the most important areas. This is where you have all of your imported clips and media. So what I'm going to put in here is all my MP4s and my MP3s, and I'll do that here in a minute. Over here is our timeline. This is just where we do all of our editing. Up here is our preview window that shows like what's going on. And over here is our media preview window. And let's start by importing some pieces here. Okay. So I already had a folder that I put together with clips in it. First thing, I want to put in my MP3s of what I might use. Let's do like this one. And then I just want to pick clips that I want to use as well. Like I said, I've got a bunch of these like K-drama things, but I might want to put in some anime stuff too. What I like about this K-drama stuff is it's like so dramatic. There's like I don't know, something crazy is always happening. Okay. All right. So I've got 23 clips there. Another important thing to keep in mind, I have all of my assets in one folder. That's what you want to do with your things too. You want to just put everything in one folder or just leave it where it's at, because if I save my project here and then I move where these assets are on my computer, uh, this is linked to this directly. So if I move one of these files, this is not going to know where to look anymore. So it's going to be an issue. So wherever you get these clips from, just leave them where they're at, and then you won't have any problem with it finding it again. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to drag and drop my song in here. So I've got my MP3. What I did was just like take it here, drag it, and then drop it over in my timeline. Here we go. And you can always tell if if it's successful or not by, there's like a little plus on the screen with that hand. So that is on our timeline. This is a 4-minute long song. This little slider down here, I don't think we've done anything with timelines this semester, but typically in anything that's like animated, you'll have a slider that looks like that. This compresses the time or draws it out. So if I do this, it's just like making it more specific or less specific. Now, one of the things with this song in particular, it kind of has this build-up that I don't want, and this could be like our first edit that we'll do before I even put in video. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but I'm going to cut it at a certain point. Before I do that, I want to make sure that we all have like similar keyboard shortcuts. What I did to get here is edit and then keyboard shortcuts, and then it brings up this this little menu. I'm not sure if it like directly, if Z is always add edit, but I use Z and X like pretty much exclusively, because Z will make a cut, and then ripple delete will delete that part of the video, and then it'll splice your video pieces together. So you just kind of slice and dice your videos as you're going through it. But with this, I want to make sure that just by default, does anyone have their Premiere Pro open that is on the screen that can tell me what it is by default?
I'm having to update my driver, so.
Does anyone else have it just open that can tell me what these are?
It's different on a Mac. Z is Zoom
Z
by default, and the X is Mark Clip.
Okay. So what I want you to do, let's see. So what you can do is like there's like the add edit. You can click on that, and then you can add in whatever you want for it. But you don't even have to change this to Z and X. It's just sort of my preference. But I want you to find where your add edit key is, just so you can do your add edits. That's probably the most important thing, to be honest. And the other thing that we're going to be using is add marker. Like Morgan, is that the same on a Mac where it's just M?
Yeah.
Okay. So for today, like all you really need to know how to do is add edit and add a marker. Because with the markers, those are these, I'm going to be kind of just manually putting in markers where the beat of the song goes, so then I know where to put my clips. Okay. So I'm going to find where this song kind of begins. so it's like right here. And I'm going to be selected on this clip, and this is where I'm going to do my first like add edit. I wonder if I can even, if there's like the add edit just from this drop down menu.
Add edit
Yeah,
to all.
so in sequence, you can go down and click on add edit, and this should show you whatever your hotkey is for it, but if you just remember the hotkey, it'll be a lot easier for you. So sequence, add edit. So I'm going to be clicked on this, I'm going to add edit, and then that just spliced these into two different pieces now. What I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to delete it, and I'm going to take this and drag it all the way to the beginning. Okay. So that is good to go. Whenever I deleted that, it didn't actually affect the file itself. If I want the full file again, I can just take this and drag it back over, and then I'll have that again. But now I've got that edited version. Okay, next, what I want to do is start adding markers. And this might be like super loud, but I'm going to be using the M key. And as it's going through the song, I'm going to be hitting M whenever it hits on a beat or things that like change. And I'm going to use that to as a visual aid to help put my clips where I want them to go. If you're not very musically inclined, or if you can't like see where the beats are, you could even just visually see in your audio mixer where the high points are, and then you can like hit those. But I'm gonna listen to this really quick and add some markers. I might turn it down so it's like not so loud, but okay, that should be good enough for now. I'm gonna stretch this out so you can kind of like see where all my markers were. One thing I like to do is like vary it a little bit, just like in visual things, having large, medium, small like pieces of shapes. Same thing with visuals, with time-based pieces. You can have bigger gaps in between your clips. You want smaller gaps and then sort of like medium-sized gaps. I think it's good to kind of like vary it up where you don't predict what exactly is going to happen. That's a way of like engaging your viewer more. But every one of these, this is where I hit the M key on part of a beat. And I'm going to use that as I start dragging and dropping my clips in. And this is a good part where I'll show you. Like this is a scene from Akira. This is where you get your previews of what your scenes are over here. Unfortunately, like my scenes are really, they're named badly. But I'm going to just start dragging and dropping these in. I'm going to drag the Akira one in first. And this is sort of like a longer clip that like goes more than like what I even had there. So I'm going to trim it down in a minute. But one thing I want you to be mindful of is whenever I drag this in here on this bottom level where it says A3, that is this clip's audio that is already embedded with it. And in order to make the music video, like I need to get rid of that audio, so then it's all about what we're just seeing there. So one way to get rid of that is I'm going to right click on this part of the video, and I'm going to stay highlighted on here for a second because this is where I'm going to unlink them. By unlinking them, it just makes them separated from each other, and then I can delete the audio portion of it. So I'm going to go to unlink, and I'm going to delete this just by hitting the delete key. And let me know if anyone has questions as we're going through this too. Like, don't be afraid to speak up because I'd rather get it figured out now than later. Okay, so this is sort of a weird part of this clip where it kind of like fades in. I'm not sure if I want that or not, but I'm going to check it. Okay, so that's really awkward to have that darkness there immediately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my little slider here to find where I want to bring this part in. I want it where it's like the color is like pretty much there. So here's good. I'm going to select that clip. And then I'm going to go sequence, add edit. And now I've got that working for me. And what I just did there was I did a ripple delete. And that's what I had on my keyboard shortcut for X. Ripple delete, whenever you have it selected, it will delete it and it will move your clip back. So whenever I do a ripple delete on this, it will automatically shove that clip over to its next available spot. Okay, so this is ready. Okay, so there's my first marker. I'm going to drag this out so I can get it kind of perfectly on it. Okay, this is where I want to put my next clip. Just want to find something that I'll do this. And then I'm going to like have to trim down this Akira clip because it's showing in the background. Or I could even just like keep it.
Hey, question. Can
Yeah.
you hear me? Okay, cool. Is there a way to like speed up or slow down a clip based on like beat progression?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, here, I'm going to unlink this really quick, and I'm going to delete that part of the audio. If I right-click on this and go to speed and duration of, like, that video clip, this is where you can change, like, the speed of the clip if you needed to change it a little bit.
Okay, cool.
Also, there's something fancy in this and in Adobe Rush where you can like make some of your edits, you can make your markers, and then you can automatically have your clips like kind of clip onto those markers. It's like, you know, adding to the sequence or whatever, but you may
So
look
like
that up.
if I wanted a repeated frame like every downbeat or something like, or every 4 downbeats or something like that, and I wanted a repeated frame, I can just automatically snap it to each one of those frames.
Yeah, if you wanted to, you could copy and paste it. At least I
Cool.
think that's what you're saying. Or you might be thinking of something that's a little bit more automated too.
Yeah, because the way you made it sound was that like it automatically jumps to your markers.
Yeah, that's sort of like a special thing that you I'd rather you kind of, you know, go through the motions and kind of learn this part first and then kind of get into that sequence making later. But if you wanted to kind of look it up on your own, I'd check into it, but I want you to kind of go through the motions a little bit with this. At least get this part figured out first. Okay. one thing that I'm looking at with this, trying to figure out how I want my, like the size of this. Because I can change like how I crop this in. Anyway, I'll mess with it in a little bit. Actually, I think I want to keep that in the background. But I do want to change that and make it bigger. Just 1 second. Okay, there we go. So over here in my little preview area, if I have my like little clip highlighted there, there is my effect controls, and I have all these little options here. You could even like mess around with the rotation or whatever. We're gonna be playing around with these little timer things in After Effects whenever we get to it. But for now, I want to just affect the scale of this, so I'm changing that to 150%. Now it fits with the size of that. And now I'm gonna go to my next part of the beat. Okay. And then I'm gonna find my next clip and stick that in. I'm just kind of randomly picking things right now, but now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add an edit on this last clip. I'm gonna delete that. So then these two are gonna be playing like right after another. I'm going to go back to my effect controls here. I'm going to change that to 152. Actually, I don't like how that guy is there because it is like a scene transition already. So I'm going to make a edit there. I'm going to move this one over and then this on top.
Is there a way to like mute that from like editing?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Is there a way to like mute that like, track was editing?
Yeah, you can over here. There's like a little mute thing. Let's see. Yeah. So you could click that, and then that'll kind of get rid of it for you. Okay. So here's that one new clip that I just put in. I'm going to unlink that. I'm going to delete it, and then I've got those working together. Is that like really annoying?
Yeah. It sounds like my speaker's about to.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Is it like killing everybody else's ears too? All right, I'm just gonna put a few more tracks in here. If you just bear with me, then I'll. Can you hear this? Where's it gone? Okay. I'm gonna add this in. Click on this and unlink it. Effect controls 150. I'm just gonna do a couple more spots and then we'll get it done. We'll end for the day. What I could do with these is like clean it up and because they're gonna be on top of each other, I could clean it up and get rid of like these little excess edges. So I could add an edit there and get rid of it. Same thing here. But I might even want to keep parts of it so that it can go back to that other clip. So I'm going to kind of get fancy with it in a second. So I'm going to make an edit here. I'm going to delete that, and then it's going to swap back to this clip that's below it. And then I'm going to stick in a new clip here. Okay, this looks good. I'm going to click on that. Effect control is 150. Okay. Now you can hear this track because I don't have it muted. I'm going to right click, unlink, and delete it. I'm going to click on this, add an edit. I'm going to add another edit here. I'm going to delete this middle part. So it's going to swap in like this background area here again. And then it goes back to them. I'm going to add another edit here. Another edit here. I'm going to delete that part. So that goes to them, that swaps back to this. Oops. I don't really like this middle clip here, so I'm going to find something else. Okay. Okay. This I feel kind of works a little bit better with going back and forth because like I had two couples kind of next to each other, which was a little awkward. Unlinking that, deleting it, adding an edit. Is this like making sense so far? Or is anyone like having any questions at this point? I'm just going to do a few more little parts here, then we'll watch it. I wonder what this looks like underneath it. Okay. Okay, let's just watch this. I'm gonna unmute this. Hopefully it's not too loud. That feels really awkward. I think what was happening, like, I'm gonna mute this really quick. This was feeling so awkward because it was like cutting too quick and there's like stuff going on in the background here that was really distracting. I'm just going to get rid of that entire Akira clip. I'm going to take all these, I'm going to move them over. And like this scene here, it literally like lasted for like a split second. Like I wasn't looking at the timeline here enough. It was like not even a second. It was like half of a second. So that was like definitely awkward. I'm going to get rid of this part. Okay, I'm going to bring that clip in again. And here's the thing, I might want this to last like, I want to think about it lasting for more than a few seconds. So the main issue was it was like way too fast. Okay, I'll use that a little bit later down the line. Let's just see what this looks like. Okay. And then the transition there. Alright, that's a weird part. I'm gonna mute that again. This is sort of like the complicated area where you have to start making it match up. And this is really short there too. So I want to try separating some things out wider. So I'm going to still look at my markers, but I'm going to give them more time to breathe. So I'm taking the edges of these and I'm kind of dragging them out until it hits those markers. Okay, we'll take a look at this and see if this kind of fixes anything. This is the part where I want the next transition to be, so I'm gonna take this and push that over. part here felt like kind of offbeat. So I'm gonna take this and drag it back just slightly.
Businessmen drink my blood, like the kids in art school said they would.
So that's like the whole thing there. I'm gonna delete that.
Businessmen drink my blood, like the kids in art school.
That part felt offbeat, so I'm gonna drag this over slightly.
Like the kids in art school said they would. Then I guess I'll just begin again. You say, can we still be friends?
Okay. Anyway, that is just sort of like a quick intro into like the very, very basics of getting started with Premiere. The thing that we did, I'm kind of glad that we that first kind of edit that we did was so awkward because we were able to kind of fix it up and improve upon it. So that first run through, that's why it's like cooking or something. With editing especially, like you want to like taste it or you want to taste your food, make sure that's okay. With editing, you're just going to be watching the same thing over and over and finding those parts that are awkward and trying to kind of build on it. With this in particular, you know, I was changing some things where it was offbeat, and like you could break it down to science where you like zoom in and you get exactly on the beat, but like another way of doing it is just like kind of feeling it, and that's usually kind of easier and a little bit more I don't know, organic about it, because then it can almost feel like too mechanical if it's like precise every single time. But I'm okay with that kind of organic editing, but it should be like transitioning nicely in between each clip. But the main thing that you have to do right now, I'm going to mute that, is you need to find your assets that you're going to use. And you may be able to find like a stockpile of MP4s that you can kind of work with. I do have that folder that I made. Let me bring it up again. Yeah, so I do have in our assets folder this MP4 area. I could upload more of those clips if you wanted to.